but for sure, when we talk about confidentiality of information, we should have the law that regulates the confidentiality of information, and this is what we have asked in the Constitution. But still, it maybe still have some time in order to be there. So the agricultural bank is one of the banks that are very important and completely different also, and it has lots of crises before. Really, actually, there are lots of problems in the dealing. I remember when it started, and it started first, and then it went out of the market, and then they will say that they are unable to work in the market. So what's happening now is a big challenge. So we need to hear from you about this. Peace be upon you. I'm really sorry for the delay, but if you allow me, first, two things about the Agricultural Bank of Egypt. It's a very old bank. Maybe it's the third or fourth bank that started in Egypt, and it represents 1/3 of the banking sector as far as the branches, number of branches. It has 1,210 branches, and also the bank was part of the Ministry of Agriculture and didn't have that strict regulation or control from the before, but now we are part of the central bank, and the governments represented in the central bank, they have the intent so that the bank had to be there, or the government hand should be there. It should be like the government's arm in rural development, and it should help the banking sector employees and colleagues in financial inclusion and delivering banking services to areas where other banks are not there, because we are in some places in hamlets and in villages, and maybe you do not notice that they don't have lots of banks in Cairo because before we didn't have a product for you, but now from now on we will have a product for you. So what's happening in the Agricultural Bank of Egypt, maybe we are luckier than others because we started, as far as technology, we start from scratch. But before starting to build from scratch, we took some time to plan and study and consider, and we need to see what are the objectives of the government and the central bank. And in continuation to the Dr. Abla's words, a lot of entities try to improve the agricultural bank, but then happens a revolution, and then there was change in the management. And when the last management started to take place, and the governor, and we started to complete the project because there is continuity and sustainability. So we started the project of transforming the ABE to a commercial bank, just like anyone that you deal with, or the one that you hope to be dealing with. And from the technological point of view, it's easy, but the legislation and also people's absorption or accommodation or understanding of the technology may be the most or the biggest obstacle that we face. We started 1.5 years ago to make people to outreach for people and make them more aware how the technology can help them, and also resisting change started to be not there or to disappear. The agricultural bank has lots of crises and problems, but now it is existing, and I will talk about some of the our philosophy in digitization in the ABE. First, we looked at the client. All the banks provide the same science and philosophy and the same products, but what distinguishes a bank from the other is the quick of performance of the service, and where and providing the service where you are, and also the accuracy and how secure the service is. The data is one of the most important factors or the most important assets other than the human assets. Data is the most important factor because it's your data. I use this data in order to make a decision, just like what Mr. Ahmed said. The machine learning also, after dealing with 3 or 4 times with any system, and I can see that some banks are doing it here, they give you the language that you want because they started to know what kind of language that you use, so they give you a customized menu for your own. So the experience, we have really considered or studied that the target of the business that's established by the government and the CBE and the bank's approach, we started to translate all of this in order how to accommodate this, and we translated it into functional requirements and application requirements. And the application that meets the strategy or fulfills the strategy, not just like, it's not just hardware and software, put all of things in a pile, but the cost of the infrastructure would be high, but the revenue for us at the bank, maybe we are unlucky, just like more than other banks, because we get everything. We did depreciation for many things when I was working with you, and we did depreciation for many things which we are using now. So the philosophy, what does the client needs? Because we are serving around 40% of Egypt's population, and we serve the bracket of 6 million farmers in Egypt. We have in the bank 3 million of them, and now we are trying to attract the other 3 million. So the client or the farmer, they have a special nature. Farmers, like my father or your or any or the old ones, they cannot go to the bank, so we have to provide the service for them at home, but it should be an accurate service, because if we talk about the real estate publicity department, if you can get a notarizer at home, he will give you the seal or the stamp. If you go to the real estate publicity office, they will make you stamp on a device. But we have half automation. When we look at the client and we look at the process, how will it look like? It has to be digitized. We all have the IDs, and this ID has 100% of the information that I should read, and that we all know, and there is a part that security entities also know how to deal with. So I need this from you. So why should I make you write on papers, and my handwriting is different from yours, and when I start to read it, maybe when I read Samir, I read it in a different way. But I have to read it electronically. Then in this way, I was able to help people and to save time. And also the other thing is that either what's required from you when you go to a bank, it's all photocopies, copies of ID, of some papers, other than the originals of some papers. So why don't I do this all digitally? And I keep it so that it will cost me less and less effort also as well. And if I have a maker and checker and someone has to check, so the maker could be an Aswan, the checker could be in Alexandria. So we have designed the systems that will be used so that the bank will have a single cloud. Everyone can go into it, and we will feel that everyone will go into it, will feel that it's his own bank. And also the bank employees will feel that they have one client. But if we are into digitization, our eye should be focused on the client and what's required and what he requires. So focus on the data, other than human asset, is the most important factor in the bank. This, in order to be able to secure the bank and use it to benefit and make for decision making. And this really requires a legislation, is to unify the legislations within the bank. I'm not talking about the legislations of the government, but Mr. Ahmad talked about it. The legislations inside the bank. Who are the delinquent clients? My definition is different from yours and different from other banks. And consequently, when I start to ask for a report, that's where I would sell more and sell less here, and where I provide my product, it should be built on a basic ground, so that the data and data aggregation and data accuracy is the most important factors that we should focus on. I expect that the ABE, because of the time constraint, I call it to be the sleeping dinosaurs. It's a big bank, so it may not only take a share, it can help the banking sector to provide banking services to all parts in Egypt. It can help. So like we did a protocol with the CIB and NBE, but the technology is not still helping us. But the technology we will have will be the arm, the good arm for the banking sector to provide all the banking services to all citizens in Egypt. The other element, or the last one, that we should not do half the digitization. The digitization, we should not leave something behind or something manual. like if you go and pay if I go to pay the tuition fees in the bank, and we will not consider that you have paid unless you gave me the banking receipt. So other one, I could have given you the credit card. So the point of sale had changed because they will have this agreement between with the bank on the fees or commissions. So the idea is to give you an acceptable service to you and acceptable to the bank. So in order for you to go to the bank and stay 2 hours there, those 2 hours will cost you like fuel from your house to the bank. But I'll provide you the service low uh, at a very low cost, and everyone would be happy, the two parties. So Mr. Ahmed said the CIB rate is the lowest in the deposits interest, but all the services that provides it, people will be very happy and don't care about this very small percentage because of providing very easy service. So the most important thing that we have taken into consideration for the ease of transactions is to make it suitable for the nature of the employees, because we have a special nature of bank, because it was all agriculture associations. It was 27 banks, and consolidation of the three banks were made. Then only recently, when they all were consolidated under the Central Bank of Egypt, it became one bank. That's why all the employees are not very familiar with the technology. So now we have passed through a very big phase, and we started to make people aware and give them some sort of flavor of what could happen and how other banks work. And we also had the General Assembly, and also the governor and Dr. Farouk Al gave us a lot of recommendations that we need to start from where others have ended, because we went there and looked here and there, in addition to our experience and other people's experience, and we have seen where people are, and we got the best thing that really suits Egypt. I'm not saying it from a patriotic way, but we have to serve all the banks in Egypt. If this bank was able to go ahead in the right way, and we have the support, all kind of support and follow up, because we send a report to the central bank if there is anything that's lagging or delayed. We'll find people coming and say why it's not happening. So the bank will serve all the citizens in Egypt, because we are everywhere. We are in places where nobody exists. The last thing that I would like to talk about is the idea of the blockchain and open banking and OpenGL. For the blockchain, I was really lucky to work in the blockchain in 2014, and my colleague Mr. Mohammed Sultan in the CIB and Mr. Hazem Higazi was in the NBE, and we worked in a network it's of 170 banks in 19 countries. And when we did the transfer, at the time I was in Qatar, and when we did this transfer from the bank to another bank in Nepal, the transfer happened or reached before it leaves our bank. So it reached the same time or almost before it. So this gave us or told us the server or the time clock here is different from there. That's why we made it connected to the GPS. There are banks in Europe and in other parts of the world that don't have branches. They are all digital banks, and they provide the same services. It has only one place for cash collections and cash block, and also some banks are only built on that, like Uber and Otlub applications, or Amazon and Otlub. They have something that's done manually, like the call center has to call you and you have to complete it. And also when you call or contact a mobile phone company, and they will tell you that we are loading the data, that means there is something manual happening here. Data should not be uploaded, because when you call CIB or other banks, once a client calls, the whole portfolio will be here on the screen. There is nothing called data is being loaded. That means end-to-end process is not digital. And this is what we have taken into consideration in the ABE. And now we did not apply this, but we will start the application right away. And it will take us 1.5 years or 2 years as a maximum. You will see a big giant, a big dinosaur in the Egyptian banks that would help all the existing banks to achieve their objective. So the idea of the blockchain is that like we saving costs and also speed in providing the service. The blockchain here in Egypt, we are still as banks or I am talking about technology, we as technology people, we have to convince the managements of the blockchain. The blockchain that we did in 2014, 170 banks, they are now, until now, working. They work in trade finance, they work in treasury bills, and LGs and LCs. These are all like, I can compare it to a GL that from which I open a small part to the other bank. So if I'm doing a transfer from the CIB to the ABE, so the action or the transaction from the CIB will go to me directly, will not go through a SWIFT and will take time, or ACH, and because the ACH here takes around 24 hours and SWIFT also 3 to 4 hours, but through the blockchain and all of these issues, it's a matter of seconds. So the cost, and we both share the cost, because some banks in Europe, there are 7 banks in Germany, and I have visited them, they have one system and they share the cost. So this system can do what's called multi-time zone and multi-currency and multi-region. So, and also some banks here, I haven't seen 2 banks that are doing it. 10 banks are using one system here, but they do not share, and they pay the same cost. So if the banks have one network like the blockchain, or a single system like the core, so if the client or the vendor, the foreign vendor or the expat vendor, if he wants to increase the price, the bank will be like a group together, and they can have a pressure if we take the power of the central bank to have an impact on people. So now I guess I have answered the 3 questions, and because of time, I hope you will be okay. We have to please applaud for him.
2 questions, please. Now I want to know, what's the type of nature between your bank and the Ministry of Agriculture? We are talking here about commercial banks. It would be changed into commercial bank, but it's one that deals with all those who work in the agricultural sector. And most of those working in the agricultural sector, the nature of product and the time when the farmer would need a loan. So the farmer needs money in order to grow crops, and there is no income until harvesting. This is immediately translated into a different financing profile, and there is high risk. Perhaps the crop is damaged. Perhaps there is no crop. Anything may happen. This means that we're talking about a customer of a special nature. How could we deal with this? And I go back to what Mr. Ahmed said about artificial intelligence and Amazon. They would have a customized package. Could we do this with respect to the farmer? Through the information we have, the bank could fulfill his needs. CIB has a mileage credit card, and this targets frequent travelers. So they started making use of the big data, and through artificial intelligence, the CIB provides customized packages. First question, how far is their cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture? Because it's far from being advanced from a technological perspective. So, I mean, you work differently from the ministry. The other question, all people have mobile phones in Egypt. Mobile is available for all citizens. How could we make use of mobile in the hands of each Egyptian to serve the 100 million, so that you would make use of mobile applications together with the geographic distribution of the bank? First, our relation with the Ministry of Agriculture. One of the main purposes delineated by the state and the Central Bank of Egypt to be the governmental arm when it comes to rural and economic development. So the state would support and support the agricultural products, provide loans in order to secure food security, So it's a loan at 5% interest rate. The cost of the funds is more than that, perhaps 12 to 14%. Would pay this difference the government. In fact, we have okay. Microphone for the participant, please. S- Would these funds be earmarked to rural development, agricultural development? No. We take this loan, a loan to buy veal. I don't buy veal. I on the ground. I use it to for the marriage of my daughter. So it doesn't serve its purpose. I take this loan and I deposit in the same bank to have higher interest rate, 12 to 13%. With the big data and digitization, we have the farmer's card to be approved that includes all the data of the farmer. It's an electronic card. Let's assume I want to grow tomato. The tomato would have 1,000 pounds per fadan as an advance payment to grow tomato. If we divide the 1,000 pounds, 100 pounds to buy seeds, to prepare the land, and then the labor, irrigation, 200 pounds, fertilizers, so on and so forth. On this card, we would indicate that we'd have only 100 for seeds and buy it from certain companies, reliable companies. Sometimes you contact the bank and say, I need a loan. Where do you work? I work, let's say, in a small company. It says it's not registered or not accredited. So we need due diligence more than if you work in a major company certified by the bank. So we use this amount only to buy seeds. In collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, they would indicate that this agriculture segment, so the division of the loan would be so and so. And we provide what in cash to have seasonal labor in order to fulfill the requirements and fulfill the agricultural needs of the country. All of us eat potato, tomato, and the like. And the purpose is to prevent these loans to be used for a different purpose. By virtue of law, even when it comes to the composition of the bank, the Minister of Agriculture would have a role together with the Governor of the Central Bank. We receive from the Ministry of Agriculture the National Agricultural Plan. If someone needs to grow sugarcane in Alexandria, we'd refuse. Strawberry in Aswan, it wouldn't work. In the systems to be installed, the sugar cane would not show for my colleague in Alexandria and strawberry not Aswan. But the customer's data would be available in all provinces through machine learning and the farmer's behavior. Say, last year you were supposed to get this amount, but no. And then we suggest different products and commercial products that would cover part of the subsidy paid by or support paid by the state. So we would sell other commercial products. As for the second question with respect to mobile applications, we have two types of customers. The illiterate farmers, and perhaps the fingerprint may be forged if you use this I use the mobile camera through the mega zone. I have a print, open the mobile or forge your signature because it's apparent. So we provide non-apparent technology which leads, the print of the blood veins, which is the finger vein. If this thumb is cut, then there is no finger vein. We had no mobile number before or email in the application. No one could convince any of the attendees that no one in Egypt may have 2 or 3 networks. Instead of one mobile, perhaps 2 and 3 mobiles for his children or kids. So the mobile services is one of our purposes, to provide service where you are, whether you're at home, you have a mobile, and you have the small mobiles that are not smartphones. Even they are no more produced by the vendors. All are considering smartphones. All of people have smartphones. So we provide the service through the email, mobile. So the customer would be well connected with the bank. And when he asks for certain loan, you may send an SMS or push a notification of the mobile that the loan had been approved, or there is a certain issue or problem with the loan. You have to review certain documents. This with respect to mobile. What's more than that? We have customers throughout the whole year, 6 million customers every year, once or twice or thrice. So we have portable services on the tablet or mobile or the finger vein. So be circulated. You would go to the elderly and people with special needs. They don't have to come to the bank. We would outreach to them, provide services at their own places, even when it comes to deposit and withdrawal of cash. Thank you. Thank you. Before opening the floor for discussions, I have one observation. What you have said is interesting. There is one thing that, that the Ministry of Agriculture would select the companies where the farmer would buy the seeds and others. What about the criteria of selection? Otherwise, we would close the door of cooperation, open another window for corruption, sorry. No, there would be competition. We'd seek those who provide better service and reliable products and a low profit margin to be of use to the customer. It's not feasible to be here in the coronation and ask him to go to Medinti or Zintanta and ask him to go to Alexandria. No, the closest to him. We have an agricultural arm, which is the National Agricultural Company, owned 100%, fully owned by the bank, provides all services like agricultural machines, tractors, seeds, fertilizers. And this is found in 26 locations in Egypt, 26 governorates, and has even maintenance workshops. The tractors that are being sold by the company are repaired in their own, in the respective governorate. We cannot open a branch in each village, but perhaps in each governorate. In some governorates, we have 2 branches because they are wide governorates. So the use of the seed provider and the agricultural machine through competition. If you want to compete, I provide 2%, provide 2.5. I have 2 branches, open 3. I provide, this product, provide another. So this would be of benefit to the customer.